Roll call.
Commissioner Pike.
Here.
Commissioner Gallagher.
Here.
Commissioner Cater.
Here.
Quorum present.
As you wish, please stand for the pledge and the invocation. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Clerk.
Dear Lord, we thank you today for all the gifts that you bestow on us, particularly the gift of your Son. We ask your blessing upon us and on the decisions that are made here today on behalf of the people of St. Francis County. We also ask during this time of drought for some relief, if possible, God, where the farmers are hurting. And we ask for all those people that are sick, your divine healing. And all these things we ask in your Son's name, Jesus Christ, our Lord.
Amen.
We do have an amendment to the agenda. I'd like to add approval of the FSCB bid for banking services. So, motion to add this to the agenda.
I make a motion we amend the agenda to add the approval of the FSCB bid for services.
Second? Okay, he can't do it. I'll second it. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Same.
Abstain?
Did you get that,
Okay.
Commissioner Buck, we abstain?
I looked at him.
Okay, thank you. And I'll do that after the two reports, so you don't have to listen to us.
So we got some reports.
Okay, the consent agenda is as printed there and it's been published. All in favor of accepting this consent agenda, say aye. No, that's not the motion, probably. That's what I tried to do. A motion to accept the consent agenda, say aye.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda.
Second?
I'll second.
And in comment, Veronica is spelled correctly there. There's no E in Veronica in this case. Okay, all in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, now, we'll go right in.
Yes.
And what?
I'm sure he's by that.
Thank you.
We're 2 pages this time.
Man, that's a 4-pager.
If anybody else wants a copy, I have a couple there. Thank you for allowing us to come quarterly and report. We appreciate that you allow us to tell what Extension does, all the great things we do. I'll introduce myself for the cameras. I'm Kendra Graham. I do want to say I am now an Extension engagement specialist, not a livestock specialist. We want to switch roles. So still covering some livestock duties until we hire somebody, but we do have that position open. And so if you know of anybody with a master's degree in animal science, we'd be happy for them to apply. So please pass that around. It is open. All right. I will be the one to give these reports from now on as an engagement specialist. So this will be my official role, covering St. John, St. Francis, Washington counties for now. We'll pick up a few after we hire a livestock specialist. So starting with our 4-H youth, they have been very, very busy already this summer. We've had our county fair and had over 200 kids participate in the fair, showing either livestock or building projects. Had over 550 entries in that, so it was a very successful fair. We appreciate all the businesses that came out and supported the kids. We had over $196,000 worth of items sold and to go and support those kids, and so that's an amazing, amazing thing that the businesses do, and we appreciate that support every year. The 4-H program has gotten a couple of grants. One of them is Shaping Rural Missouri grant, and basically that was to go erect sheep and goat pens, and so those were built in the Ag Department and the FFA at St. Francis County of Farmington, and then they were utilized this year at the fair. The other one is a mini grant for Feeding Missouri, and that was in St. John and St. Francis counties, and they've collected food and donated to the food pantries. They also have another Feeding Missouri grant fund that was used to create a free will pantry, and that'll be constructed in the Leadwood area. Moving on, there's several camps, actually one today for Clover Kids. Clover Kids is age 5 to 8, and so they have that camp again today, this afternoon, along with a pool party afterwards for all 4-H members, kind of a celebration of after the fair and project wrap up. So those are happening today. One thing I want to point out, Casey Amston is our youth program associate. She put together a girl-powered space camp. That one is happening August 1st, and it was out advertised for 2 days and had 62 kids sign up. So if you know of anybody who would like to help sponsor that, they were planning on 20 kids. And so a huge response. They would like to maybe do lunch for kids. So if you know of anybody who would like to kind of sponsor that, that'll be held at the Bonne Terre, I'm gonna get this wrong, Space Museum. I think it's called the Space Museum of Bonne Terre. There's an official name. I apologize if I butchered that a little bit. But please contact our office if you have any ideas. Casey also does a Youth Futures, and they tour Mineral Area College to wrap it up and do a really neat game called the Game of Life. And so they put them through scenarios of actual life situations, and they have to do role playing and work that out. And it's kind of neat. Kids have no idea about financial stuff, about getting a loan, and any of that. And so Casey really tries to hold their feet to the fire and make them do that through a game situation. Switching to livestock. I work with the Black Vulture Task Force, and that seems to be kind of a newfangled thing. But what's happening is we have black vultures that are actually attacking our cattle and other livestock while they're calving and killing those calves and killing cows. It's a nuisance thing. However, they are protected because they're in the raptor family. Those are protected in Missouri. And so we have to find some way to help manage that. And so we're working on education materials. One of the things that we're pushing is actually hanging an effigy, an animal that looks dead, a black vulture that looks dead, hanging that around, and it does deter them from coming around because of that. So working on that with the USDA Wildlife Services. Our Show Me Select Heifer program was very successful. We had 3 sales that I worked with in May. And I wanted to point out, we had a sale in Farmington that started in 2016. We have 2 sales a year. Since 2016, 1,765 heifers have sold through that sale for $3.2 million worth of sales. And so that comes back to the economy, come back to the area. So I kind of wanted to throw that statistic out for you. One program upcoming, livestock, is, and I know it was mentioned, we have a drought going on. If you've noticed in our drought monitor, we were elevated to a D3 status, which means we are eligible for assistance for livestock producers, forage producers in the drought. And so we have a workshop coming up July 18th from 6 to 8. We're going to have it at the St. John Community Center to try to be a little more centrally located, and that'll be from 6 to 8. We do have a Zoom option if somebody wants to come in and Zoom in virtually so they don't have to travel. But we're talking about feeding livestock. We're talking about utilizing crops that may be damaged to feed livestock, and then maybe planting something for forage for fall growth to help get us through. Because what's happened is hay supplies are about half of what they normally are, and in the fall we don't get a huge significant amount of hay produced. So we're still going to be short, even if rains come and we have a fall cutting. So, a couple of our specialists from out of the county that serve this county, Brianna Anderson is Human Development, and Australia Kamarna is Nutrition and Health, and they've done an 8-week Matter of Balance class. It's geared towards older adults, and what they do is do exercises and try to improve balance through strengthening exercises. For our nutrition program, Alyssa has worked really hard in St. Francis and St. Genevieve County, and she has a summary on the back. If you want to read that, I'll highlight. She's taught 38 6-session series in several of the schools, Truman, Central, and the Garden Club this spring. She does spring and fall sessions. And she's also worked at the Head Start and then works at the food pantries to try to reach giving nutrition information to people. One of her highlights was they do a garden program, a garden club with our homeschool groups, and that's over at the community garden, and those kids actually clean up, plant, and harvest, and then donate to the senior center the harvest that they get and stuff they don't take home with them. And so that's been a really great program. Those kids work hard, and gardening's not easy, and man, those kids get a workout. So any questions? Sorry, that was a little long.
You mentioned a pantry in Leadwood. Tell me about that.
So I don't know a whole lot. I know the grant was not only collecting food, but trying to establish supplies to build, and it's kind of a stationary food pantry, so you'll want non-perishable items in that, where people can either donate more in there or take what they need.
Is it tied to the senior citizens? Or
No, I think it's a separate
separate thing?
yeah,
It's
just a
free
standalone.
availability of food.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm not sure the exact location.
On this black vulture, where do you buy a black vulture dummy?
So that's still in production. The USDA Wildlife Services have funds to make those, and so they're making plastic ones. You can also get a permit to actually shoot black vultures through Farm Bureau. They'll have permits, and you have the availability to shoot some of those, trying to scare them off, and then you can hang an actual dead one.
Okay, but that won't last long.
It won't, correct, but your goal is to scare them off to where they don't come
How
back.
big a problem is this?
So it's growing. It usually happens in the spring during calving season. What happens is we have our red-headed turkey vultures and then our black vultures. The turkey vultures usually just feed off of already dead animals. The black vultures are more aggressive, and they're actually killing animals, and they hunt off of sight, and so they're, instead of smell, like our turkey vultures, and so they're going after those type of animals that are actually calving. And so they're not a nuisance if they're eating our dead animals, but when they're killing calves and killing cows while they're calving, it's a really gruesome thing. And so there is, if we get in touch with the USDA Wildlife Services, they have funds and educational events that we can get those effigies. They're looking at 3D printers, they're looking at printed ones and so fake ones.
I think they had a really bad problem down south around Poppy Bluff.
Yeah, they have. I know a couple producers around this area have had some problems. So it's encroaching north. Usually those vultures don't travel above I-70, but they are starting to see more of an issue. But south central Missouri is where the big problem is.
During your elementary years, did you ever dream of becoming a vulture specialist?
No. I don't even think last year I dreamed of becoming a vulture specialist.
Okay, and on the drought assistance, is there anything about water? You mentioned food.
So right now, if you have water issues, contact the Soil and Water Conservation District over in the USDA building. They have cost share programs that can help with digging a well or maybe expanding the pond that would allow for some water. Those are huge assistance areas.
Have a question?
I have a question too. I was following the governor's page, and he was talking about MoDOT was offering to do, if you had a place you found hay, they were offering to transport that for you. And also the state parks had payable options, but you had to write a contract. And then there was also some parks, our closest one I think was St. Joe, where you could go and they would let you get water if you were needing water. Does that have anything to do with you guys?
It doesn't. So those are, the conservation department would be the main
That's
contact
okay.
for that. For both the hay in the ground, that was released in May, and then the water also. So they're allowing you to pump out of creeks and other reservoirs if necessary. So hopefully we get some rain coming up.
I know all the parks, I think all of the hayable parks, they were contracted out immediately.
Yeah. Like I said, that was a long time ago, and I'm sure.
So if they allow you to pump out of the creek, do you take your own pump, or they have that set up? Or?
You can take your own. Yep.
Okay, all right. Okay, any other questions? Thank you so much.
And congratulations.
Thanks.
Okay, next report would be the SFC mental health report. Come up.
I'm trying. I had surgery last week. I'm in recovery. So
Well, I hope it went well. Well, thank you for being here.
it's a slow go, but I'm getting there.
Thank you.
So my name is Whitney Shumway. I'm currently the Vice President of the St. Francis County Mental Health Board. And I had reached out really just so that we could make sure we were having regular contact with you all and letting folks know what we had going on, what we were doing. And what I've presented with you today is our strategic plan that we put together in the last couple of months for the next 3 years. Really focusing on, if you go to page 4, that's where you'll find our 5 focus areas where they kind of start. So the first focus area really is board development. We have 2 open seats right now on the mental health board, and then a possibility of 2 more coming, as we're really evaluating who's on the board, what they're bringing to the table, and what we can do to develop the board to be successful. And then our second focus area is going to be our website. The domain closed down like 6 months ago or so, and so we're in the process now of trying to figure out what the best and most economical way of keeping that website going is. So we have a couple of folks working on that. And then our third focus area is really community relationships. Folks really don't know we're out there and don't really know what's going on, what we're doing. I know with COVID, like with everything else, it kind of went to the wayside. Things just kind of stopped. And so we're really hopeful to start engaging the community, being at different events with the table set up, providing folks with other resources that maybe aren't mentioned in the 211 regarding mental health, suicide prevention, things like that, things that are a real issue here in the community that we need to be talking more about and helping provide resources on where they can get more education. And then our fourth focus area is financial stability. We don't really have a steady way of funds coming in to be able to do things with the website and offer additional trainings and things like that within the community. And so we have found somebody who we are just waiting on an official appointment. T.R. Dudley is offered to come in and help us with some of that he's offered to be my Yoda. So I'm pretty excited about that with the grant writing stuff. So that hopefully we can get some more funding into the county for those types of things on a more general level outside of providers. Because we have a lot of providers in the area, but it's really that education and knowledge base for loved ones who are caring for those individuals, what they can look for and how they can help. And then the fifth focus area is the Fishbeck Memorial Scholarship. So this last year, Mr. Fishbeck was murdered, and it was really because of mental illness, right? And so the family had reached out to me and said, hey, I know you're involved in a lot of this. What can we do? And so Chris, our president, and I sat down with the family, and we came up with this idea to try to do a $500 scholarship for each school within the county, so that one student who's attending Mineral Area College with an emphasis, a focus on social work, psychology, counseling, things of that nature, they would be able to receive a $500 scholarship to help bring providers really into the area, right? Investing in the community in that way. And we look to be able to do at least 3 schools this year, and we're hoping to, like I said, grow that out so that every year we can do a minimum of 1 for each of the 5 main school districts within the county. And so within the strategic plan, you guys will have like a page that kind of goes into more detail. I'm not going to bore everybody with all of that. But if you have any questions now, I'm happy to answer those, or if you want to reach out to us.
I do have a couple of questions. You talk about financial stability. Is that with your board or the people?
The board.
The board,
The
okay.
board.
You also mentioned T.R. Dudley.
Yes.
Now, to fill people in, T.R. is employed by Great Minds.
He is.
Health Center.
Yes.
Yeah, center. And they, as part of his job, have him help others with grants and such as that. And T.R., I know, is working with me on getting a couple of industries involved, brought in.
Yeah.
Helping them with grants and different things to help with that. So T.R. is very important
He
to
is.
the local industry. Nice guy.
he is very, very blessed that he's agreed to come in and help us. And I did ask him, I said, will you
Wonderful,
be my
wonderful
friend
person.
and teach me? I need to learn all the things.
Okay. I don't have any other questions.
Who is your board president?
Chris Massey.
And he was with
For
East Missouri Action
Action
Agency.
Agency.
Any other questions? Okay, do you have anything else?
I don't.
Okay.
What's that number?
Well, that's well done, appreciate your thing, thank you. Okay, next item is the added item to the agenda, and Parks, you wanna talk about it, or?
It's pretty much, we were at the first state before, it's, everything's pretty much stayed the same, the deposit's gone down a little bit, I mean, just with Fed rates right now, I mean, I think most community banks are getting hammered pretty hard with that, but, dropped from 85% to 75% of Fed rates, so I mean, still it's very good interest rates right now, but, they did go down a little bit, but everything else stayed consistent a little bit, so.
And I think, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, if any departments that may wanna look at some new products, I mean, they offer a lot of free products for us, remote deposit, some other very good, I know our department's gonna look at that ourselves. So if you have any interest in these things, holler at me and I can have them come, present to us and show us a few different products, and if it can make us run more efficient or anything like that, so, please feel free to let me know and I can get that set up to where we can maybe do a little tutorial on it.
I think Parks' bigger concern was he's about to run out of blank checks.
We are about to run out of blank checks, that's a little bit, we rushed this today. We
Don't
had to-
give many blank checks.
Yeah, or not blank checks, we're about to run out of checks, so.
First State has had our,
Yep.
for a while, they do a great job.
Yes, they do.
One of our commissioners will abstain from the vote because he's on the board. Full disclosure, you're on advisory board for that.
So I'm also.
Ethically, you're fine, as long as we disclose that fact and that you abstain. There's nothing wrong with it, it's just that that's proper position. If you have contact, now, on occasion, you will have something that involves you all that you still have to vote on anyway, as long as you properly disclose it.
And that's why he abstained when we put this on the agenda, by the way.
It also was out for bid, and they're the only ones that came
All
back.
rejected.
So, in doing that, and Terry for doing what you needed to do, but make sure that you know that we did send it out for bid, and we only have one to come back, so.
I hand delivered every bank in
Yes.
our county, so
Yeah.
they all and they had over a month to bid on them, so.
Do I have a motion to accept this bid?
I make the motion, we accept the bid for First State Community Bank, banking services.
You want to second that? Just checking. I'll second it. Any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, funds process for National Forest. Bridget, you want to talk about this?
Oh, I get to talk about it? That's fine. Well, actually, it is not my decision, it's your decision. So I sent all this to you guys to look over, so basically it's just two different, acts that are passed, and you can choose how we get our federal, national forest money
Is it
from whichever act that you want to.
Is that right? Every
Yes.
10 years you have to do this, and then they gave you another option this time, and the other option didn't seem reasonable, so it was a
And we're
little
not
less.
talking about a lot of money.
It's not, from
Correct.
$800 to $1,200 or $1,500,
Right.
so, I choose the more, I mean, which you would,
That
but there's
would be
more
the
steps
obvious.
with the other one, and you only get $800 of it, so
And the
that was.
purpose, there's some history there on any county that has part of Forest Service land that have to maintain roads, that type thing, the feeling was that there should be some funding that gets passed through to that to help in that effort. And but this time they gave us a choice in the method of reimbursement.
Right, and we still have to, we only get to keep 25% of it, and 75% is the schools.
Those are
anyway,
schools,
so.
and that's great. So we're just gonna keep, well, my motion would be to, keep it the same we are now.
That
Yes.
SRS Title I. yeah.
SRS Title I, yes, that's my motion.
No second that one?
I'll second.
I'll just check.
Thank you, Bridget, I threw you in the back.
I'm here.
I know.
I said Bridget will talk, but I'll have to.
Any questions? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Thank you. Audit report. Somebody from the auditor's department?
I'll start it.
If I want to. Where's Amber at?
She's hiding back here.
Louis Cyberly, County Auditor. We began this process earlier this year. It was delayed somewhat because of reports we did not receive in a timely manner from different departments and groups. However, our company that we have had for a number of years worked through all of that. We are presenting to you the draft of the financial statement for 2022, okay? That's January 1 to December 31, 2022. Amber Modulay, our audit manager, did 99.9% of the work. I did the other 10%, and that accounted mainly for signing the documents.
We need to audit those numbers right there. 99.9 and 10%. We need to audit that.
That's because we give 110%.
Hey, Matt.
Okay, I like it. I like it. I like it.
Okay, I do have a question. You said 22, and the report says 21. Okay,
You took a screenshot of the prior year, schedule of prior year.
You looked at the wrong year.
I did, okay, well, this
See, it says summer schedule of prior year.
okay,
Ending December
The page before
31,
it says-
2022.
okay,
Well, we just got that one.
okay.
The page before it was the one that you probably.
Okay, I automatically go to the last page and audit report.
That's okay.
So you did not read the first 55 pages, you
No,
just
I
read
read
the
that.
last page.
I
All
can
right.
scan
The
those.
most important, Amber's going to talk about it in detail. The most important pages for the commissioner, I believe, is page 46 and 56. So, Amber.
It is quite a report.
Thank you, Louis. Okay, well, yes, as Louis said, this is our December 31, 22 financials.
Okay.
It's just a compilation of the activity that's
Let me get my
already
mistake
happened.
off the board here. Okay.
And as Louis did say, probably two of the most important pages are gonna be 46 and 56, which will tell you there were no state or federal findings on the audit report. That would be the fourth year in a row now that we've been without findings. Another important page that you're gonna wanna take a look at, if you have not already, is page 52, and that is our CFA, which is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards. And if you haven't already noticed, we had $5.5 million in federal expenditures in 22. That does not include an additional $300,000 of state expenditures that aren't reported. And then total revenue in 22 of federal funds was $8 million. So with that being said, we will have a single audit again next year, which is a review of all our federal expenditures. But other than that, I don't have much more.
Amber, explain why no findings is important to the county.
No findings is extremely important when it comes to applying for those federal funds or state funds as far as the grants are concerned. If you get findings on your federal expenditures, then you're least likely to get selected for that, because that means there must be internal control issues or you're not using the funds as you're supposed to. So it's very important that we keep that to no findings.
Get an asterisk by your name and they double look at you, right?
Yes.
Which is why we are insistent in the auditor's office with different departments to file their reports in a timely manner with the correct information. And I know that different departments kind of get a little cranky with us, but this is the reason for that information. Road and Bridge, Sheriff's Department, Prosecuting Attorney, it's critical that they provide that information in a timely manner. And they do, for the most part. Sometimes.
On occasion.
What was the dollar amount of pass-through that you guys had to offer?
Pass-through was about pass-through to subrecipients was $250,000, which majority of that was the CDBG grant.
Now, you talked about the federal no fault finding or no findings, but what about the other part of it?
That would be on page 46.
Okay,
That would be where.
and that was also no finding.
Correct.
Okay, that's.
So we're looked at
That's important.
on a state aspect, and then when we have a single audit, it's on federal level.
Okay.
So they look at both.
Okay.
And we had no findings under there.
Bob?
This says draft, does that mean that you still have something more to do on this report?
There could be some minor changes still, according to our independent auditors. It would not be any of the actual physical numbers themselves, it may be footnotes. But if there were to be any changes, we would have to come back and get it approved again. But it can't be a final draft until the commission approves it. So it'll always be a draft that gets presented.
She's waiting for me to read that whole thing.
Hey, Louis, you mentioned,
I've been looking at it.
this auditing service has been with us a while. When do we redo that?
Daniel Jones and Associates performed the audit, and they have for the past.
This will be their 6th year.
This
This year
is-
we put out, we'll put out an RFP for a new independent auditor. And they'll be allowed to solicit a bid just as anybody else, but it'll be all based on.
The old rule of thumb is every now and then you need to change your auditing firm.
Or at least offer it up.
I was gonna say it all depends. I mean, they all do the same thing. They're reviewing the compilation of our financials.
Yeah.
They're ours. They're just reviewing them. So as long as they remain independent, and I prepared all of these financial statements, not footnotes, but any monetary numbers in there, we compiled in our office, so they just audit them.
I've served on school board for 18 years, and I don't remember any auditing report that was ever no findings. It was always, you only have one person opening the mail. Those kinds of things, little things, but there would always be a finding. And so it's amazing to me that we've gone, I think it's only 4 years.
Well, and the biggest problem our county faced for a long time was internal controls, no documentation or violation thereof. And a lot of that was due to segregation of duties, not having enough people in your office to be able to mitigate that. And technology has really helped us with that, because with Tyler, it's kind of helped start that internal control process that we then expanded.
And it's natural for an office holder to want to be efficient. So they won't assign that second person to a job for oversight. So just let that one person handle it. So that's not really good bookkeeping practice. So.
Absolutely.
Okay, Bob?
Amber, is there any boards or commissions that report to the county commission that you include in the audit, or are they independent totally, or?
So any tax-based board that receives their own tax, they themselves receive an independent audit.
Okay.
But we do have the mental health board that's
Good
here
example.
today, that is included in our financials, because they themselves do not have a tax base, but they're a county appointed board, and we're responsible for monitoring their financial activities.
Commissioner Bob asked about the draft, and a footnote that was added, and I might have missed it in years past, but Daniel Jones notes that the county's investment policy does not address custodial credit risk relating to investments, and it also notes that the county has no policy in place to minimize the risk of loss resulting from investments. Also, the county's investment policy does not address investment credit risk or the risk loss due to failure of the security issuer. The reason that they point that out is because whenever the commission decides to do new policies or to add policies, that should be noted. So that's one of the suggestions, but it did not impact anything in this initial draft.
Parks, we have several accounts drawing interest, but that's drawing, CD interest or whatever. It's not invested in the stock market or anything like that?
So we have our ICS agreement with the bank to where, I mean, it's still with other banks and financial institutions. We can only go up to 250,000 per FDIC there. So what they do is they are diverse that money out to these different companies. So we're getting very good returns on that. That's our highest interest rates coming in these returns. I think last month was like a couple $100,000 that we received on that. So that's
You're doing
they-
more and
they
more
control
pooling,
it.
and that's what that addresses, is because if
Makes it
you
sweet.
put all of it, more than 250 in one bank, if you don't have a policy on the, but if you do a pooling where they take it to different banks, then they kind of share everybody's coverage.
They're actually controlling that, but it's, I mean, we are getting our monthly reports on that and everything else.
So it probably wouldn't be bad to actually have a
failure.
standard practice on that the money, whatever institution needs to be pooled for, to mitigate problems that if we put all of our eggs in that one.
Well, and that's kind of the nice thing with that, in my opinion, is we're not putting all our eggs in one basket. It's
No, that's
diversified
good.
through all these other financial institutions that it's not, if one bank goes down or one bank goes under, we're not.
There's probably wording that's out there that would cover the commission that could be adopted on their policy toward that.
Sure.
Well, I think
You know,
why it's not a finding is because that's called collateralizing.
Yeah,
Whereas
that's
it's
what it
covered.
is for collateral.
But our policy doesn't specifically address it.
That's what I'm saying,
That's
there's
what I'm
some
saying.
wording that says,
Okay.
So Parks, in your opinion, all of our dollars are protected FDIC?
Yeah.
That's.
But they're being collateral, that's what, how they're doing, then what we have in the bank as well, so.
Okay, motion to accept?
I'll make a motion that we approve the audit report draft from the auditor's office.
Second,
I'll second that.
questions? Thank you, Amber.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Upon approval then of the final audit, it will be published on our county website.
Thank you. Okay. No other questions, comments?
Thank you.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Except the new one.
There's a statement that the collectors have come up with, Collectors Association, whatever the official title of the group is. And that's basically how we look at it. Senate Bill 190 has got a lot of questions. It's going to be very difficult to implement as it is. So we're trying to determine how to do that. We want very much to support the senior citizens. But what it is now is just really a pile of trash as far as the wording is concerned. So many definitions that aren't there, how to do things and who to do it for. So that's our stance right now, and that's how we feel about Senate Bill 190. Next meeting, right here next week. Everybody welcome. Other business, correspondence? Public comments? Yes, Carol?
Back to the consent agenda, the reports from the treasurer and the J. Graff's office, are those online?
Nick?
Oh, that's a good question. Do you guys send anything to us?
We have one.
No, I don't find
We should have.
If not, they will
It
be.
has to
We
be-
can get them on there.
Can we do that?
Yeah, we can get them
Yeah.
on there, yeah.
Okay.
Those are of interest to nerds like me.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I think it's good for the public to know where the sales tax is at and everything.
No, that's
else,
awesome.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Good points. So you guys can handle that?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can just get
Any
it to
other
us
public
whenever.
comments? Departmental reports?
are you gonna show the treasurers, are you gonna, that report? The latest
Not today, I
treasurer's-
don't have it in front of me. What do you?
Well,
The
because
sales
it came in
tax
last
and
week,
stuff.
and he sent it out, and,
You have that info.
and, it was.
I don't have it on the slide, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
We were currently at up 3.4 for the.
Oh, yes, you mean used sales tax?
Yes.
And then the Prop P was
I
up.
have
and
that,
had a
yes,
big-
that's coming up,
That's
yeah.
coming.
I do have something real quick I was gonna say for this one. 2024 budget worksheets will be going out this week.
Okay, it's that time.
I know, I hate using the B word, but unfortunately it is true, so those will be due back to the auditor's office no later than September 1st.
Okay.
Board of Equalization meets today, and we are having I don't think we're having other than the people that are appealing it, but we have to meet to approve the assessor doing his job, working out details with people that are still in conference, and as long as it's worked out before the proper time. So we will meet to give him that instruction. The only other thing that I would mention is that we should congratulate Mr. Kevin here, being made publisher of the paper. Editor of the paper. We've got new ownership, ding dong,
Yes,
Lee
best
is dead.
newspapers is.
And they are actually going to expand over there and hire some more people and bring the press in and print the paper for this paper and a bunch of others in the area, which will mean employment and much better than what.
Bring the good Daily Journal
Lee
back.
does. So hopefully it's got a good.
Our
future.
best to you, sir.
Much more
Yes.
locally based.
That's, I like that.
Thank you so much.
I didn't know what I was reading it for.
Okay. Now, he asked if I had the treasury report. I do not. I have the treasurer's sales tax report. And so that's what it is. We're at 3.75% increase over July of last year. So it's still, all the green numbers means it's going up. You don't see any red in there anywhere. So, we do have an increase in sales taxes, kind of gotten routine. So we appreciate that and we're happy about that. Now, look at this, last month's, income on property. It's up 117%, more than double. And Parks and I have been talking, I don't know why, my first impression was maybe it's the June fiscal year some people have that are paying.
They're also saying that's 2 months.
Well, like the sales tax, I mean, how it's coming in.
Yeah.
I think this first year is gonna be some of these where I think, we need at least a year or two to
More
get
than
trend.
double. More than double?
Well, and then like we talked today, today's Prime Day. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of stuff going online today, so it'll take us or 2 months.
Prime Day is going on, so got to.
Well, that's going on, but I don't know if this may be dependent upon how reporting is done. through the
That's what I was
state.
gonna say, maybe
We don't
people
know what
don't
it's
report.
gonna be. It's-
Well,
it's
that's
now.
my, when Harold and I initially talked about, that's what our thought was, just when people were reporting, and that's what I mean, this first year is gonna take,
Yeah.
some people may not send it, they may just do it annually, so
It's
it's
very
gonna.
positive, no, I don't care how you
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah, it's
Very.
Well, the positive I see is, we've been running about 5% on sales tax, that's down to 3.75, but like we said, if that sales tax goes down, we hope that this the use tax will go up, people maybe are buying more online or something like that kind of, so.
Now, in these cases, the red numbers indicate less than last month. So we don't have an annual comparison.
It'll take at least 2 years to get a full, to really get a good trend on what months maybe be higher or be lower, so.
Key thing is we got enough money to buy cars.
Yes.
The good thing, we're hitting our goal, I think we're
Talking
up
about
that pace to hit our goal that we
Well,
were
our
hoping.
goal was basically 900,000, we're already there. So we have the rest of the year, that'll be an improvement over what we were even planning on getting in. So that's great.
No,
Okay.
But we did order cars last week, so we gotta pay for those.
Do we have anything on delivery?
But they should.
Buck's not here yet.
On what?
On delivery of those 4 cars?
No, they won't even be ordered until August. It's the only time they can do that. They do it twice a year. August, they'll be ordered probably through maybe September.
We just had to give the okay to hit the window.
That's correct.
That's all we did, was give the okay to hit a window.
Well, August's not that far ahead when you think about it. Okay, any other departmental reports? Yeah, Dan.
I did one thing, last Friday we had our annual Shop with Cop golf tournament. Thanks Kevin and those that come and help with that, and we raised about $10,000 for those kids. Thank you.
It's awesome. Even the ones that even fibbed on their score a little bit.
Well, I had some sharp pencils and erasers.
They got some.
Why is it that little golfing pencils don't have erasers on them?
Mine does.
He carried a bucket of liquid paper.
Somebody take Louis and Amber out to dinner for about a month, so we don't have to start on any budget.
Okay, moving right along. Any other departmental reports? Okay.
And keep that team away from the audit.
I'm making motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Boy, it's past time. All in favor, aye.
Aye.